In London, technology is the Silicon Roundabout. Introducing a new talk show dedicated to the people of the London technology startup scene. Silicon Real. Each week, interviewing entrepreneurs, venture capitalists, financial technology, accelerators, and incubators in an exciting three-person format. Learn about the people behind the innovation. Locally filmed, locally sourced. Silicon Real. It's about the people. All right, here we go. This is Silicon Real, the video podcast dedicated to the people of the London technology startup scene. I am Brian Rose. I also host London Real, which is a similar type deal. We get three guys in the room, sometimes girls, and we try to figure some stuff out. We've had George Galloway in here, Howard Marks, Tim Ferriss. We had Bruce Perry from the BBC series Tribe on here the other day. But we're here to talk about tech. My co-host is Colin Pyle, who's an entrepreneur who runs Lingos, which is the online language school. Yep. You got the gourmet coffee company Crew Cafe. You're doing Kickstarters. Movember's over. I'm really happy about that.
I know, me too.
The mustache was scaring me a little bit.
I didn't pull it off.
Oh, so. I don't know about that. Maybe you pulled it off too well.
Which is maybe worse.
Do you miss it?
I do actually a little bit. You know, I hang out in Shoreditch a lot, and I felt like I fit in a little bit more during Movember out here than I do now.
Maybe if you added a hat to that, then it might have.
Yeah, it would have worked. Next year.
Okay, cool. And Kickstarter, how's that going? You're about halfway through your goal, right?
Yeah, I think we hit 55% funded today. So yeah, it's going great. If you have an espresso machine at home, give us a go. I just spent some time with our suppliers, and it looks like we'll have a biopod ready for our Kickstarter rewards. So I'm going to update that soon because
fully biodegradable pod.
Fully biodegradable pod.
Awesome.
Didn't know that a few weeks ago, but now it's pretty much firmed up. So that's exciting. Really exciting.
Cool. Very good, man. Yeah. I have supported your campaign. I expect some coffee next year.
Thank you very much.
And no, that's really cool. So check that out. We'll put a link on the show to that.
Cool.
On with the show. Our guest today is Mr. Gary Jackson, who is one of the founders of Hailo, which if you don't know, it's a smartphone app which puts people 2 taps away from a licensed taxi. More specifically in London, it puts you in touch with a black cab, which is an institution of the UK. I've got my own stories about black cabs. I'll go into that later, but a bit about Hailo. You guys launched in November 2011. You guys are all over the world now. You're in Chicago, Toronto, Ireland, Osaka, Japan, Barcelona.
Yeah, Madrid.
You guys, I think, have carried 8.5 million passengers. Your annualized sales are over $100 million. You were founded by 3 taxi drivers, one of which is you,
one of them.
And 3 entrepreneurs. You've raised over $50 million from VCs like Union Square Ventures, Excel Partners, and Sir Richard Branson. Gary, welcome to Silicon Real.
Yep. Thank you.
It's amazing.
It's really big to have you here because we have a lot of people on the show, and we're always talking about these Series A and Series B rounds that people say is lacking in the UK, and you guys are already there. And so it's just big to see you guys like leading the way, and then you're taking it to the Yanks, which we usually see businesses coming the other way across the ocean. And it's like you guys and Y-Plan that are kind of going the other way. So I was just wondering, how's the last couple of years been for you?
To be honest, it's just been getting time to get your thoughts really, because it's been so busy. So and one of the things we do love is, like you said, is that with startups, we love it. We're from Stepney originally, so we're East London boys. So to see something so close to us being built up in Tech City and stuff like that, and actually being one of the companies to come from London and, as you said, go to New York has been great. Yeah,
it's such a great story because it's just nice to see that, you have 3 guys that were driving, black cabs for a large part of their life, and then 3 internet guys. And it wasn't like the tech guys trying to take over your industry, but you guys were doing it together. And that's kind of a rare story, isn't it?
Yeah. So what happened was originally there was 3 cab drivers, me, Terry, and Russell. And we started another company, and we was doing really well, but we knew about the taxi business, but we didn't know about the business, if you know what I mean. So we was really fortunate, and between the 3 of us, me, Terry and Russell, we were very much like a perfect marriage. And then all of a sudden we met J-Ron and Casper, and it was like the second perfect marriage built together. So we've been really fortunate.
How did you meet them, out of curiosity?
So what happened was Terry got an email, which was really fortunate because at our last company, our emails rarely worked properly anyway. So yeah, we got an email to go meet them at a cafe. So as taxi drivers, it sounds really weird that you'd think that we would be the ones turning up in jeans and t-shirts, but we went in suits because when you do the knowledge, it's just respectful to always wear a suit, so you always look smart. So we turned up in suits, and we turned up at this place called the Squat and Gobble, which was in around Tottenham Court Road. So we turned up at this place and it's shut down. So there we are thinking, this is a mess about.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, one of them come running along, and we went from a really posh cafe, which we was meant to be going to a proper old dingy sedan, China cup, all cracked, having a cup of tea for a few hours and just discussing the taxi business. So we told them how we thought things should be run. And they said, well, we want to get into that business because we know it's big, and we joined together, sort of thing. It was really good.
You know, you mentioned the knowledge, and if you don't live in London, the black cab experience is really hard to describe to someone. And I first moved here in 1997, and then again in 2002, and like it was such a big part of my experience of London. And like get into a black cab, even on like a busy shopping day on Oxford Street, and you get into this space, and it's this huge space, and you're above everyone else. You got a cabbie who knows what the fuck he's doing, where he's going. You can even have probably a crazy conversation if you want. And I used to call it like my personalized limousine service, because like I've taken taxis all over the world. I've been in Tokyo, we got the white gloves. I've been in New York, where you got guys speeding down the street, and it's a unique experience. So like to see you guys marry that with tech, it really, I don't know, it's something kind of special,
No, it's good. I think it keeps it going too. It is such a unique experience, I find. Coming from Toronto, it's just kind of typical. And been in cabs in China, it's just insane, so.
What is the knowledge for people that don't know, and what's the history of the black cabs? I mean, you look at the latest Sherlock Holmes movies, and they're flagging black cabs. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, this has like been around for a long time.
Yeah, so the knowledge is something that, remember, anyone could become a taxi driver. All you have to do is go out and learn something like 375 routes around London. And if you do all them routes together, it actually crisscrosses across, and you should know the best way from point A to B. But that's not all you have to do. So what then you have to do is you have to go up on appearances. So you have to put a suit on and go up to someone who's like the examiner. And you would do that on different bases. So you go from 2 months to 1 month down to 2 weeks, and it can take the quickest about 3 years. And they'll ask you questions. Take me from this building here to Old Street, and you'd have to find the best way out and stuff like that.
And visualize it and tell them.
Visualize it. Yeah, I was one of these people that people do it in different ways. Some people visualize it from actually going out on a motorbike and seeing the streets and seeing the shops.
Yeah, you can see those guys in London.
I was probably one of the first people who started using tech to do the knowledge. So when I done the knowledge, mine was more map focused. So I would visualize the map in my head, and that's how I would remember everywhere. And then you started using computers then, which would pinpoint certain places. So it would tell you where places was on one side of the road or another. So I suppose I was using tech even then to do the knowledge. Nowadays they all use, I should imagine, Google Earth. Yeah. Just zoom in and see what a building looks like and go from there. So it's probably a little bit easier to do because you don't have to go out as much, but you probably ain't got that knowledge of the streets as much. So.
And you've been studied by brain scientists, and they say that your brain actually changes once you've learned the knowledge, right?
Yeah.
As in, like, the left and the right hemispheres, like, did something really strange by all that memorization.
Yeah, so what I always say is that we take all them... It took me nearly 5 years to do the knowledge. I was doing it with part-time, so I had family and stuff like that. It's hard to get out on a bike and work and learn all these runs.
Right. Just to make that clear, that's 5 years of studying before you get your license to become a cabbie.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it was 4.5 years from the day that I said, I'm going to do the knowledge and become a cab driver. Like my brother was a cab driver, my uncles are cab drivers. Everyone, I would say, out of all my friends, I can't think, there's probably one who's not a cab driver. So it's something, if you're from East London, it's something it's something that you can do. So you can either do that or you can go in the stock exchange. And if you get lucky, I think we're really good in the stock exchange, East London boys as well.
Oh yeah,
so,
we had a bunch in the city.
Yeah. So so that's how the knowledge works.
Are people still doing the knowledge, or with the tech coming in these days, do you think that it will be phased out at some point?
No, I don't believe you can ever phase it out, because I know you've got sat navs,
right.
But there's certain things in your brain that you're collecting all the time. Let's face it, we all get into a sat nav, and it doesn't always take you the quickest way, and it doesn't know the back routes and stuff like that. So I think our brains will always be better. But going on to the big brain scenario, I believe that we spent 4.5 years remembering it all and packing your brain, and then you spend the next 6 months just trying to get it out, if you know what I mean. Because to be honest, you probably until Hailo come along, you only ever worked the city, the West End, or maybe Kensington. But now Halo's here, then what happens is you start working in the outer boroughs a lot more. So now your knowledge of the outer boroughs is getting better, but when Hailo first came along, you was getting streets that you've never heard of. So drivers was like, oh, what's this street? I've never heard of it. But now they're getting used to it. So their knowledge is actually, when you become a cab driver, is a lot better now with Hailo, because they have to think where they're going and picking people up from.
After you do the knowledge, how does the cab business work here? Do you actually buy a license?
No.
Or do you work and then have to pay?
Yeah, so it's down to the driver. It's not
That's
like
it.
in other
Okay.
cities like
Yeah.
New York, where it's a medallion or anything like that.
Yeah, that's in
you
Toronto.
are the medallion. So
Okay.
then you've got that badge that says I can drive a taxi. So what you do is then, I think it's about £350. I think it's gone up now. I think it's £400, but that's for 3 years. So it's not like you do all that work and then you got to pay a lot. It's quite reasonable, £400 for 3 years worth of going out in a taxi.
So the studying is really how you pay for the license.
Of course it is. Yeah, it's like doing a degree.
So who owns the cars then?
So the cars, you can either go out and buy yourself one.
Okay.
Very expensive.
Yeah.
So people don't take that into account. Everyone thinks that cab drivers are out there earning loads of money. There's a lot of expense.
Sure.
Diesel's expensive, cabs are expensive. I used to rent my taxi, so I didn't have the worry of things breaking down and stuff like that. So
Cool.
it's not as easy as everyone thinks driving a taxi. You're probably doing, like everywhere, 3-4 days, and it's probably the same in every country, before you actually start earning money.
Right.
So with Hailo now, it's a lot better. So where we used to come out at 5 o'clock in the morning, you could work till 6-7 o'clock without even getting a job. You can't do that now. So we're feeling that dead mileage has sort of gone away.
So you're increasing efficiency. Huge for the cab driver.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
So some of the things that we have in the app, because we have a driver app. Everyone sees that the customer app. What they don't see is the driver app is the app, because the driver app gives drivers all these benefits. It lets you see your stats. So if you want to type in every job, you can see how much percentage you are POB and stuff like that. And
Okay.
sometimes, when we first started doing it, drivers was 50%.
What's POB stand for?
Sorry,
That's right.
POB is a passenger on board.
Okay, right.
So you have a passenger on board, so much percentage. Obviously, the more percentage you have passenger on board, the more your meter's running,
Right.
you're earning more
So
money.
with the Hailo app, they can monitor their own business.
So you can monitor your own business and see how you're doing. And we're working on that at the moment to make it, because it's 2 years old, the driver app. We're going to make the new app really good, so it's going to be a bit more interesting.
Okay.
But
Do they have
drivers
like driver stats, so you can download your stats and compare the average pound per minute, I guess, and all that sort of stuff?
Exactly.
Huge,
So
right?
one of the things you'd be driving around is you're always thinking to yourself, I've got a target to hit.
Right.
I want to know what my hourly rate is, because if your hourly rate's below, then you know there's not much you can really do about it.
Right.
You can only carry so many people. But no, so we had drivers who was POB 50% of the time, and then they were 75% of the time. Now they're getting a 25, well, it's actually 25% times whatever increase in their earnings. Yeah.
Just by using the app.
Just by using
You know,
it.
it's something we ask everyone that's sitting here. I was just wondering if you could tell people that don't know about Hailo, like, what have you guys done, and what are you planning to do? And why do you think Hailo can win in this market? Why do you think you guys are going to be successful here in London and then globally?
Yeah, so I would one say that it's got taxi drivers' influence, because we can all go out there and build stuff that we don't know nothing about, but we know the industry. So we can do that. And to be honest, the industry is probably the same in every country, is that if you're empty, you're not earning money. And if you're full, you're earning money. So on that way, I think we can succeed, because the other way we do it is we go out and get, wherever city we've ever been to, we go out and get the drivers first. So when we launch, we never launch with more customers than we have drivers, because it's all about service. So if we can give people a great service from the beginning, then they're going to use us forevermore.
Something like New York, it seems like that would be a nightmare to try to go in there and understand the yellow cabs and try to get your app going. I mean, did you send people there to work with the people on the ground?
Yeah, so every city we go to, we've actually used the same concept as we did in London at the beginning, which is get a few driver partners who know about the business, who know people, who know different minorities. So if you go to, I don't know, so Toronto, we might have an Asian driver who can help that that race, and we have different segments, if you know what I mean. So we get drivers involved from the beginning.
Yeah, that's a big deal. You said, like in London, was it first you getting your friends involved and then get the next black cabbie to tell? Because I think one of your interviews you said black cabbies and tech don't always go together.
Yeah, so we had this from the beginning, and to be honest, instead of being defeatist and saying to ourselves, okay, a driver says I don't do tech, instead of saying that, we would help them do tech. So we'd set them up an email, because they'd come in and they'd go. You go, what's your email? And they're going to be like, it's Shirley family at this Gmail. And you're like, we'll liberate you. We'll give you your own email. And they're like, oh my goodness, you'll do that. And we made them, actually, Apple owe us a lot of money anyway, because we sold a lot of phones for them, because drivers used to come in with a box and just go, here you go, can you set it up for me? And the whole point is it was finding what taxi drivers needed. So what we done was, we obviously knew that taxi drivers want to earn more money, but we was fortunate we had an enemy at the time who we could relay to drivers and say, we want to win back our work. And that was one of our big slogans, is that during that time, a certain company was coming in and taking all the black taxi work from us.
Okay.
So we used that, and that's why the drivers jumped on board.
Okay, like a mini cab company. That's your main competition, is the hired, smaller private cars.
Exactly, yeah. Because every work that they take, that's another person who could have been getting into a black cab. So it's all about getting people back into black taxis.
And did you ever think about not expanding so fast? I mean, Jesus, you guys raised a ton of money. You went super global. Did you ever think, let's own the London market first? Or was that always part of the plan?
I would say that we was probably at a stage where we feel like we own the London market anyway.
Okay.
So can we do more? Yes. Can we dispatch better? Yes, that's all coming. Can we do more for our drivers? Yes, that's coming. So we've not won it completely yet, but we've launched into other countries. It was a case of that. I suppose it was more of a time thing, that if you sit around waiting and just win in London, it's a big hot market. So if you let other companies go out to other places and start winning them first, then obviously it's a bit harder for us to go in afterwards and mop up. But the thing is, when we started London, we was actually the 8th app in the city.
Right.
And so we sat there and we was building this app, which we knew was the best, because we had all these young guys from Google and places like that, and they're all building this app for taxis, and everyone else just had 2 people in a bedroom, building it. So we're sitting there and we're watching all these people come out, and we're thinking, is one of them going to be successful? But we were so confident in what we done, and what we done was we got the suppliers in the drivers before we went out there, where the other ones just went out there with 2 free cabs. Lost a lot of customers, yeah.
All right, I did a little market test on this the other day, and I was late for a meeting with you, and I was at Euston Station, and I needed a taxi, so I hit the Hailo, and I was checking it out, and it's a fantastic app, by the way, really great, easy to sign up. It just makes it super easy. Gives you the cabbie's picture of the cabbie, his phone number. He knows who you are. You can change the location and have him pick up on a different part of the street. And I got mine really quick. And then I quizzed the cabbie, and he didn't know who I was, obviously. He didn't know Gary was coming on in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, why do you use it? What happens? And he was like, yeah, I can be there with a cabbie friend of mine. We both get the alert. Whoever hits it first will get the business. And he's like, and he was just talking about how he uses it, the fees. And I think he didn't want to lose business to other companies more than anything.
Exactly, and we're going to have some new features coming out soon, which is going to be like a directional button, because this goes back to what we done in the beginning, which was a company called Taxi Light, which was getting people journeys in and out of London, and then on the concept that if a driver's finished for the day or he's coming in, he'll do a job a little bit cheaper because he's going that way anyway. So it's like a fill your empty seat. So we're going to be introducing that soon, which will hopefully help you. So if you put in your direction where you're going to, you'll get another chance of getting a taxi. Because if a driver says, I'm finished for the day, I'm out of here,
right,
at least if he's going your way, you end up going your way, not for cheaper if it's short, but for a longer journey, or you'll get a happy driver. Because there's nothing more happier than getting a job going your direction when you want to go home.
Right, and a cabbie going home is good. I love black cabs, like I said earlier, but I've had nights out where you're trying to flag one, you can't find them. Other people are jumping ahead, and like some nights I've been like, geez, I wish there were more of them.
Blocks and blocks and blocks.
And sometimes the cabbie will stop, and he's like, no, I'm going home. I can't take you that way. And I know in New York they're required, if they pick you up, to take you wherever they're going to go. Are these concerns that made your app a reason that more people want it, or is that something as a
Yeah.
black cab that people can get frustrated with that?
So one thing I think we have to train everyone is drivers and customers, because customers still come out on the street and use the Hailo app. It's not meant to be like that. You're meant to be in the restaurant, press the button, see that the cab's coming towards you, and then when he presses his arrive, then you come out and get into the taxi. So I think it's going to be a time thing. It's like I was thinking a telephone box. People used to queue outside telephone boxes to use it. I think it's the same as hailing the cab. I think in the future it will just be alien to hail a cab on the street. You let him come to you, because then you stay in the warm. He knows that you're going to come out as soon as he presses the arrive button, and everyone's happy then, aren't they? So.
Can you explain the fees a little bit for the cab driver? Just explain your revenue model.
So all we take is a 10% cut from the driver.
Yeah.
So the customer doesn't pay anything more than what's on the meter. But so we take 10% in London, but we do it different. So in Toronto it's 15%, because it's all about the market, and it's all about New York drivers don't earn as much money as London cab drivers, so we charge the customer there because it's more of a convenience thing. So drivers do take 10%, but out of that we have to pay the credit card costs, VAT and stuff like that. So it's quite a good deal.
Yeah. And there's some minimum fees recently. I know you changed a few of them. They're somewhat controversial. One of the cabbies said that he was glad you went to the daytime charge was minimum £10, which you jumped from £5, and then the nighttime is a minimum £15.
Yeah.
Now, you've had some press about that. What do you say about those fees? Why are those necessary?
Okay, so if you imagine at the moment we're oversupplied. I mean, people just love the app. They just want to use it to get taxis. So it comes to a stage where we was getting not so much feedback from drivers, but we're very data orientated now. So we can tell when people use it, how many people use it, how much they pay at certain times and stuff like that. So it got to a stage where, for the sake of losing probably the 5 or 10% at the bottom, which was doing jobs less than £10, now the people at the top who not saying at the top spending more money, but the people who couldn't get a cab, who was willing to spend more than £10, couldn't get a cab. Now, if I use an app and I say it's going to cost me £10 and I decide not to use it, that's my choice. But if I press the button and I can't get a taxi, then I'm just going to go use Addison Lee, or I'm going to go use another taxi firm, or use other companies that are going to come in and supply you with that service. So it was a decision to, not for the good of just the company, but the good of the drivers and the good of the customers. Because if you press a button and you don't get a taxi, then there's nothing worse.
I don't have a problem with that minimum price. If you really need a taxi, you're just like, I need it now.
Yeah. Exactly.
But have you had some problems with that? I know have people complained. Have you lost any business? Or?
To be honest, we'd done the data, so we knew we'd lose a tiny minority of business, but we gained it from the top end. So completed jobs is actually more than it used to be, because now more people are getting in black taxis and not trying to use other services. So as it worked, yeah. If we find out it's not and the data says differently, then we're big and brave enough to go back. I don't think we will, but...
Have you done that in other countries as well?
With a minimum fare?
Yeah.
We don't have such... I think in the other countries we have a tipping problem.
Okay.
Because in North America, everyone tips, where maybe they don't tip as much in app because it's easier to just walk away without a tip. But so if we need to, then we will, but we'll do the data and we'll make it the best for customers, drivers and ourselves.
So we talked about the data a few times. You guys must be collecting some fascinating data. You talk about data mining. We had Ivan on who does sort of e-commerce data, but the data mining of your stuff must be really...
Yeah. So we have a data department now who deal with all this sort of stuff anyway. I'm looking forward more to what we don't use is, I'd love to use the traffic side of it. So at the moment, if you're a driver, you can actually put in when there's traffic. No, like Google does it. But this is by cab drivers, for cab drivers, so you can put in there's traffic here, so it's trustworthy and it's updated all the time, because new drivers come along, get asked questions like, is there traffic? But what I would like to go on to eventually is sort of sat-navy, as in, let's face it, TomTom can tell you which way to go, but he can't tell you a cabbie's way to go. So it'd be lovely to use that data for that. But we use data for everything, so we're doing a lot of A/B testing at the moment. So we can put a sign on the screen for the driver, and then we can say, well, 50 said accept more, or 50 don't accept more, and we can use that sort of data to go forward and see what's the best way.
You know, we always have a part of the podcast where we ask a couple devil's advocate questions, and I'm sure you got one on your mind. But I want to ask you about a company that hit you up at Chew the Fat the other night. It was our good friends at Uber, which asked you a few questions about your pricing model. And what do you think about, you know, the American companies or the companies that are going to trying to come in and try to own this space, or Addison Lee upping their game, or how do you think you guys can compete with those people in the long run?
I would always like to think that we're going to just focus forward. I hate it when you're looking side to side and behind and looking at a competition, if you know what I mean, because I like to think that we probably do everything right. And I always think to myself that if we feel that we're having a hard time, imagine how they're feeling. They're probably looking at us going, how can we be like Hailo? So we shouldn't be looking behind and saying, oh, let's do it their way, or let's see how they're doing it. So how do we worry about it? I think there's enough work for everyone if they want it, because to be honest, we're probably only taken 5% of the taxi market, so there's a big market out there still to go. So I think with black cabs, because we're black cab only, with black cabs picking people up, I think that's an advantage straight away. Now the competition like Addison Lee and Uber can try and get black cabs, but black cabs won't work with mini cabs.
Are black cabs exclusive to you when they sign up with you? So
No, they're not exclusive.
So in theory, one black cab could have 2 apps.
One black cab could have 2 apps, a radio circuit, the street.
Right.
So we're competing a lot more with the street than we are other competition.
But you won't sign mini cabs up. You're strictly a black cab service for Hailo
exactly.
London. Okay, and that's a decision you made early on.
That's the decision we
It's
made
in your
early
blood,
on.
right?
This is in our blood, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, most definitely.
It's hard to emphasize what an institution the black cab is, like in London. I mean, like it's the fact that you guys have that market it's a big sign for your credibility, and it's hard to break into that market, you know.
Yeah, so other people will find it hard. I mean, there is other people competition out, but no one gets as many drivers as we do, because they believe in what we're doing, and they like the minimum fare. A lot of drivers were saying, but if people are going to stop using it and stuff like that. And we said, look, trust us. We know what we're doing. We don't do anything to hurt anyone. That's the thing. With Hailo, we're not out there to hurt anyone. So everything we do is for the good of our customers and our drivers. So that's the way we feel, yeah.
Kill the dead time for the drivers and get more capacity for the people in the streets.
Exactly. And you know what? There's people out there who probably would never dream of using a black cab. We now use a black cab, and that's something that we need to do, because it ain't just mini cabs that say our competition. You've got trains, you've got buses. The 24-hour trains is coming soon. You know, I mean, to be honest, that's going to take a bit of money. There's Crossrail. That's going to take people out to the airport.
Right.
People don't use black taxis as much to go out to the airport. We want to bring that back, so that's why we're going to do the fixed price scheme coming into the new year, so that we can get you out there a little bit cheaper, and you know the price when you're going. So there's lots more to come.
Colin, what do you see when you look at them as like a business model, like from a bird's eye perspective?
Well, it's interesting because you talked about sort of competition not in cars, so Crossrail and stuff like this. You know, you say I sort of peripherally, without looking at any data, saw the black cab market almost as a declining market. Right.
Most definitely, yeah.
So you jumped into a declining market, and you're really turning it around with technology, which is impressive. I guess, do you see the ability to turn it around a little bit, but is technology at some point going to sort of take over, and whether that's 5 years or 10 years from now? Do you think that
you're not going along?
Do you care? You'll have exited by
not
then.
This Google self-drive car.
Yeah, for example,
I'm one of these people that it's never going to happen.
Never going to happen?
No, it's never going to happen. I mean, they'd have to shut down every road in London for it to happen.
Simon Devonshire was loving that. He was talking about.
And he wanted to kill all the parking spaces in London and move that open to walking spaces.
So it's funny, you talk to some people and they say, that's 15 years down the road. And then other people are like, oh, it's not as far as you think. So I don't know the answer to that. And you'll probably be a super angel by then, helping the ecosystem, like the PayPal effect by that time. But
so think of it this way. I think it must have been about 20 years ago. I think the Docklands Light Railway, which is an automated self-drive light railway.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen one empty with no conductor or anything? No. So I don't see any point in it. I mean, I agree with electric cars and electric taxis. I think that would be great. That'd be amazing. You still need someone to talk to anyway, don't you?
Sure.
Yeah, that's definitely true.
Talk to a robot.
Has Boris bikes impacted black cab business, you think?
I don't know. I should imagine it would on short journeys.
Sure.
because if you're going to go from Liverpool Street and you can jump on a bike to go to London Bridge or something like that, then good luck to you.
Yeah.
But when it's raining and it's cold, I mean, then it's down to you.
Yeah.
But even cycling, I mean, a lot of people probably used to get taxis. Now cycle to work.
Right.
People drive for miles, don't they? 10, 15 miles on a cycle just to get in.
Yeah.
And so that definitely hits us a little bit, yeah.
You know, Gary, you have a unique corporate structure because you have 3, black cabbies and 3 like internet entrepreneurs. Like you got, the guys in suits are actually you guys, and the guys in vests are
exactly, yeah.
And it's honestly, it's a great story and it's an awesome, article. But how does it actually work? I mean, when it gets down to expanding to these cities and these guys have the vision and you guys have the knowledge of the base, I mean, do you all sit around the boardroom and make these decisions? Do you all travel around the world, or do you have like certain responsibilities that you do in the other guys do?
So like all startups, we was involved in everything at the beginning. It's getting to a stage now where we can't be. I mean, if you go back 6 months ago, we was travelling everywhere. But since then, we're now starting to hire people in the big positions, if you know what I mean. So one of our joint CEOs is Tom Barr, who was the head of Starbucks. So, and then we've got John Moore from Skype, who's the head of our product. So all these people are now coming involved, and they're becoming, because you can't do everything. That's the thing with a startup. You're involved in everything, and you always want to know what's going on. But in the end, it just makes you a bit crazy. So what we're doing as drivers, we're taking our roles a bit separate, as in what we're good at. And Russell, who you met earlier, is more PR and marketing. I love the product side of it. So like I said, we're working on Driver 2, which is going to be the new app for drivers. So I'll be working more on that, and Terry does a lot of operations. Ron, who's one of the co-founders, does the funding and stuff like that, and Casper was head of operations as well. So we all do our little roles, and Jay is the CEO. So we've all still got our roles in the company, but we need to take you need to take your foot off the gas, because it's just like overload.
You guys were driving black cabs 3 years ago, and now you're running $1 billion plus company.
Exactly.
That's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
It's
to be honest,
phenomenal story.
Even when people talk about, it's really weird. Even when talk about the funding, it's 50 million this and 50. I don't take much notice of it. As far as I'm concerned, everyone's getting that sort of money. So when people say I've just got some funding of a couple of $100,000 and stuff like that, it's like, don't take much notice of it, to be honest. I just think that everyone earns. I mean, a couple of $100,000 is loads of money. If it would have been us in the beginning, we'd been going mental for it. But so we don't take much. I don't get time, me personally, to take much notice of the
sit back,
the money.
But one day you will.
One day I might. Yeah, I think I'm always been a bit of a dreamer anyway. It's like anything can happen. I probably dreamt about when I was younger anyway, so it's been done.
I mean, you guys are a huge success story for London. I think you were meeting with David Cameron earlier today, and Russell and you, and I mean, you guys are kind of like what London can become in the tech sector. It's what we're always talking about on this show.
Yeah.
Like to have someone like you getting the big chunky financing, kind of going global. Are you guys like role models to a certain extent to the startup community?
Yeah, I would say we are. It's a bit annoying on my part, because I'd always like to say that I would love to help people. It's just getting time to help people. It's like we was at Chew the Fat, which was great the other day. We done like a question and answer thing, and then people come up to you and they ask you your opinion, and sometimes you think to yourself, why are you asking me my opinion? I don't know nothing. But then you come back and you tell them all this stuff, and you come back with answers, and we meet up with them. We have a cup of coffee, and we can't invest in them or anything like that, but we can give them our experience of what we've been through and everything. I think sometimes you think to yourself, although you had it too easy, if you know what I mean, but you deserved it because you worked so hard. So that's what, it'd be nice to help anyone, especially in London. It's like a pride thing, isn't it? Being born in London and seeing London do well is like the best thing. It's like your football club doing well. Let's face it, we should have tech football club, shouldn't we? So London would be the best in the world.
Yeah, I mean, we're not from London, but like the one thing we want to see is London just kick off when it comes to the tech, and see those big Hailo financings and those big £1 billion companies and those big IPOs.
But you live in London.
Yeah.
So you are. Once you've joined the team, then you're part of it, aren't you?
Actually, black cabbies always ask me where I'm from, and I say I'm a Londoner.
Yeah.
And then they ask me a few more times, and
They always assume I'm American.
Really?
Yeah, we share.
That's a
that.
did I?
compliment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think of the London tech scene? I mean, you know globally what's going on with all your different cab companies. I mean, is there anything you see that we need to do here in London? I mean, obviously you're getting more recognition from Cameron and the government. Do you see a missing piece?
Yeah,
in this community?
One thing I think the government definitely should do, and I'm not that wise to it, I should get a bit wiser, is that if you start up, that it's like 0% tax and stuff like that. Because you bring so many employees into this industry, and anything that you take out of it should, I'd say tax-free. I don't know. I would say that, wouldn't I? Yeah.
Tax-free sounds good.
Yeah, sounds good. Yeah, just an incentive, because people are probably sitting there thinking, is it worth all the hard work? But
sometimes even just starting up a company. So, I just don't have time to, my books aren't organized enough, and I'm just not focused on revenue and organizing my tax or my VAT returns. It's just kind of a headache that I wish
Could be eased.
could be
yeah, I
eased.
think maybe it'd be eased. Yeah, that would be nice.
Or even like I'll pay it at some point. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Let me get to a point, where you guys
Yeah,
are now, and
exactly.
it's like, okay, here's some money to an accounting firm, figure that out, and then I'll cut
Yeah,
a bill.
okay.
But the
Yeah.
first few years, it's like, just leave me alone.
Yeah, that's right.
As a startup businessman, just like paying employees and getting
Yeah.
and doing your taxes with no profit is almost an amazing accomplishment
Yeah.
in the beginning.
It's true.
You know?
I got a letter in the mail the other day, and it was just like, I owe 81 pounds for a VAT thing because I didn't file it on time or something like that. I'm just like, so I didn't challenge it because I just paid the 81 pounds because I don't have time right now to challenge it. And so now I just paid someone, and now they're sorting it out. But it's just kind of like, leave me alone for a year.
Yeah.
So if you're a taxi driver, you normally have an accountant who
Right.
does that all for you. Yeah, so
Oh,
it's
there you go.
or you have a wife.
Right.
That
She
works
does
as well.
everything, yeah.
Where do you guys want to be in 5 years? I mean, do you want to be in 100 different cities in the world? Is it all about getting in those key places? Is getting there first, is that important?
I think getting somewhere first. Yeah. Right. So in two ways, if you get there first, then you have to do all the hard work. If you do get there second, and then you realise that, actually, that we've now got drivers who are actually trained on a phone, who actually got a phone, then you can actually go in second and be the winner. I think it all comes down to who's going to get the most. Let's face it, drivers want to earn money. So whoever gets the most customers for a driver will eventually be the winner. But then we've got other stuff that helps the driver. So when we start off with the driver app, we have so much more in it. It's like a taxi tool to help them throughout their day anyway. So hopefully a bit of that and a bit of customers will always be the winner.
That's almost a great business model in its own, having a taxi app that's just a tool for them, you know what I mean? And then you add what you guys do.
Exactly. And I think we're going to have to do that to launch quicker everywhere else,
Right.
like easy sign up. So you sign up and then we get you verified and authorised, and find out where interest is. If you can download it in San Diego and we get hundreds of drivers all downloading it, then we know where to go next, if you know what I mean.
It's a good
Right.
idea.
What's your corporate headquarters like? I know you guys are at Somerset House. Why Somerset, by the way? I mean, geez, it's quite an address. That used to be where the Royals would kind of summer or something. Right?
Actually, the apartment we're in is actually the old tax, the Inland Revenue. Yeah, so it's a bit ironic being a taxi company. But no, first of all, we started off. It's been a bit of a story, really. We started off with, we needed a place where you could park a taxi because we was taxi drivers. So we ended up getting offices on the HMS President, which is a boat just on the embankment.
Okay.
So we started off there, being underground and walking down the old silver steps to an underground. It was like being in a submarine sort of thing. So we started off there, yeah. And then, fortunately, Somerset House was looking for startups. And they actually come looking for us and said, look, we've got this amazing building which I know that Old Street and Silicon Roundabout is great, but Somerset House is really good for young tech startups and stuff like that as well.
And what's your office like? Is it mostly developers working on these new apps?
Yeah.
Is it like salespeople, business people? What's the vibe like there?
The vibe is most people are head down in a computer, which is really weird because if you go into our office, it's loud and noisy. So we're in the part of the marketing. We've moved now to product side, but they're more coding, headphones on, typing away and building the app, because everyone thinks that to build a taxi app you just need a couple of people. We have like probably about 70 developers.
70.
Yeah, so it might even be more than that, to be honest.
And it's weird because it's such a simple app. I guess that's why it's so simple and easy.
This is the thing is that everyone thinks it's a simple app, and you're right. That
it's like the Steve
because
Jobs,
you don't see
right?
the people in the background typing away, coding, and
the non-technical answer, right?
Yeah.
It's a simple app. It's two presses.
and this is the problem we probably will have when we go to other countries, is that there will be the old radio circuits or new people building these apps which they think can handle tens of thousands of drivers, and they can't. So they will have that problem, and it will break down. I mean, God knows how many servers we've got, but we've just changed platform, which hopefully should bring that server load down a bit. But it costs a fortune to keep something like this running. Yeah.
Do you think you're going to need to keep improving that app as you go forward? Do you think you'll ever adjust the prices of your taxis based on demand? Which is something that's tough to do because black cabs have a standard fee. If you flag them down.
So you mean similar to the minimum fare to do it?
Or
at different
to
times?
I think Uber says that they have something where if there's a big supply, then the prices go up and that kind of thing. Do you think you'll develop an app that gets really complicated and market based and that kind of thing?
So one, you got to whether to trust it or not. I mean, it's okay
That's
saying
true too.
It's okay saying putting a sign up saying, the taxis are really busy. We can't get you one. Pay 40 quid.
Right.
Do you get what I mean? But who knows if they're busy or not? They can soon get you one.
Good point.
So surely if it's that high demand, they won't be able to get you one. So
But it's an idea from like 6 or 7 in the morning. For example, a cab, might typically that percentage might be 20, and how to get it to 75? Maybe if you drop your price significantly. You know what I mean? It might work.
So you mean like surge pricing,
Yeah.
which we could use towards the data. It would be very confusing for the customer because every time you open the app, it's a different price. If you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I always feel to myself that there's three ends of the market. There's the lower end, which is the mini cab jobs around the corner, stuff like that, and then you've got the medium price, which is ourselves, Addison Lee, and people like that, and then you've got the business. I don't think you can do all three.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you add all 23,000, you can't compete with all three of them grades. So
Right.
I'd like to think that we would go for the mid and the business starting hopefully next year.
Part of what gives you guys credibility is that you're offering a rate that you can get on the street, and it's no more expensive to book through you guys than to flag a taxi.
Exactly. So when we done the data, 10% of our jobs was below the meter fares at that time. So as long as you're not one of them 10%, you get a free run-in. You get 5 minutes waiting time if you're coming out of the office or you're running a bit late. You don't pay any credit card costs. The driver covers all this. They're worth that £10 minimum, if you know what I mean. So 95% of the time now, it don't affect anyone who books a taxi. So it was the fairest way. I mean, what we could have done was gone, well, we'll charge you a couple of pound. But then if you're doing a couple of pound on the £10 job, it's now £12. So then you're charging them for every time. So what we said was the fairest way was to do the minimum fare.
Somebody asked me one time when they were traveling here, they asked me if a cab driver would try to jip me on the price or something, like we were going somewhere, and he's like, he's going to overcharge you. And I'm like, I've never been overcharged by a taxi driver. Oftentimes black cab drivers will drop the fare because it was too much traffic and they shave pounds off the price.
Yeah, drivers get a bit embarrassed if they're sitting in traffic and there's nothing they can do about it. Yeah. If a driver takes you what you think is the long way, you'll find you'll get there quicker, and it would have cost you that amount of money plus more just sitting in traffic. So a driver wants to keep someone in his taxi all the time, but actually not moving is like dead mileage. The rate of money he's getting goes way down. It might cost you more, but it's costing him more because he wants to get you out of the taxi and get the next one in. There's no need ever to go out there.
Where does that black cab ethos come from? Was it something you were taught? I mean, like by your friends and your family members that were cab drivers before you? I mean, did someone ever say this is the way we do business? Because it seems like this unwritten code.
It is like a religion almost.
It's very British. Very British, and it's big.
There is a secret etiquette that you learn as you're going forward. Like if someone lets you out, you always let them have the next job and stuff like that. I don't think that would work in any other country. I've seen in other countries they just take your job, where there's an etiquette in.
Sorry,
in
what's
London.
that?
If let them out.
So if you're driving along and someone lets you out, so you flash them to pull out and they've got their light on.
Oh, I see.
I'm still the one who's going to get that job that's coming.
Okay.
So he'll drive past that job that's there. So
Right.
sometimes you
I've
might
seen
think
that.
to yourself, why is that person who just drove past me?
Yeah.
It's not because they're driving past it, it's because they're the nice guys who've just let the person
Behind
out and they've let them have that job. So
That's good.
so it's just an etiquette between drivers anyway. I'd say it was a good one.
And are there more and more young people that get into the business, or is the average age of the cab driver kind of getting older? What
Yeah,
is that?
so there's definitely young people getting in. I think that Hailo now will entice more people in because obviously once they start hearing that you can earn more money and stuff like that, then and I think you're getting. When we grew up, it was mainly if you're from East London, North London, the inner boroughs, you become a taxi driver. That's what you've done. I think eventually it will be new people who are coming to live here. They'll understand that if I become a taxi driver, it's a decent living, but you have to really work hard to earn a decent living. But you can earn a living.
Is the money, the increase in sort of efficiency for cabbie, is it going in their pocket or is it going into the car owner's pocket? Because are they raising their rents because they're like, well, hey, I know now that you can make more money on a day because of Hailo, so you pay this rent, and so the cab driver actually doesn't make any more?
I think that could happen in other countries. I don't think the London cab drivers would put up with it, to be honest. So, but no, cab drivers earn whatever they earn is their money.
Right.
So it's not like they have to give so much. They rent a taxi for so much, and then they keep all the money that goes
maybe
to
the rent.
But I understand.
Sure.
I always thought to myself, if you imagine New York, somewhere like that, that really truthfully, if we start being really successful, then the medallion prices should go up.
Sure,
because the more they can earn in a shift, the more the medallion owners can charge. Yeah.
Yeah. Gary, we always ask everyone that sits there a few questions at the end, and I'm going to hit you with them. If you could make a phone call to the 20-year-old Gary Jackson and give that young man a bit of advice, was he driving cabs back then?
No, he wasn't, and that's what I was. I did hear this question. By the way, I've watched the show before.
Thank you. By the way.
Which I
you
really,
prepared for
which
this
I
question?
Really enjoy. But I did prepare for this question, but I never got an answer. And I think the answer would have been, so you better answer.
Go ahead.
So the answer would have been at 20. I probably would have said to myself, become a taxi driver then, because at that time it was a good living, and at 20, if you could earn a taxi driver's living and go out and work nights and stuff like that, it would be great. But if I was a 20-year-old, what would I say? I don't know. I'd be silly and write a song that's already been written or something like that. I wouldn't invent the iPhone or something like that because it's a bit technical. But maybe I'd nick someone's song.
On that same note, what's the best advice you've ever been given, either as a cab driver or as a startup entrepreneur?
Yeah, so you do get lots of advice being a cab driver. By the way, cab driving is a great networking place. I would like to say if any cab drivers do watch this, network with your customers, because that's how you start. That's how you get to know people. That's how you come up with ideas. And I think seeing these people who are wealthy and stuff like that can give you that inspiration to maybe to go on and do something else. I'm not saying that a cab driver's not a good job, but there's always that chance of doing something else. Yeah. So best advice. I tell you, I'll do best advice, and this comes from Russell. When we first started,
one of your co-founders that was
one
cab
of our
driver
co-founders who started it, and he always comes up with a story, and every time he says it don't make me cringe. I've just heard it so many times. But he was in the back of a taxi, and with Peter Stringfellow. He went in the back of the taxi. So he was driving the taxi.
Now, people who don't know who Peter Stringfellow is, who aren't from London, could you give it a quick description?
Pete, what is he? Hugh Hefner of London?
Yeah, he runs some nightclubs and strip clubs and things like that.
That's it. So Russell would come out with something like, I had Peter Stringfellow in the back of my cab, and I didn't know whether it was his mum, his daughter, or his girlfriend, something like that. Anyway, she was obviously a good-looking blonde. So anyway, so he was talking about what we was doing before, which was taxi light, and he was driving along and he started chatting, and Peter String said, "Look, stop." And Russell thought, "Oh, what's going on here?" He thought he was going to put me down. He said, "What are you doing?" He said, "Well, it's a taxi app." He went, "Stop there." He said, "It'll be a success." And he said, "Why is that?" He said, "Because you're doing something you know." So I'll say that because Russell always used to say it. And that's the 150th time I've heard it.
It's good advice. It's good advice. Stick to something you know.
Stick to something you know.
Because it might look like a simple industry to people on the outside, maybe even people from Silicon Valley, but it's a very complicated business, right?
Yeah, most definitely, yeah.
On that final note, what's the advice you give to those people listening that want to do a startup in London? Maybe they're black cabbies, or maybe they're in a completely different industry. Maybe they're old, maybe they're young. I mean, you've been through it.
Yeah. We're meeting someone Tuesday. It was quite funny that I think his name's Chris, and it was he's doing an app called One Pulse. Anyway, he's doing this app, and he came up and asked us for advice, and I always go, I haven't got any business cards on me, and it's not because I want to be rude. It's just that I'm really badly organised. So if someone emails me, they got no chance on earth of. I'll go, oh yeah, I'll get back to that, and never get back to them. So I passed it over to Terry, one of the driver co-founders. Anyway, so he sent an email the other day about meeting up. And at the same time as writing the email, he sort of slagged me off, which was really funny because I thought, this is great. These young guys have got so much nerve that they'd come out. But he said something like, if Gary's stopped passing all his emails over to you, would you like to meet up? And I thought, instead of going, what's he doing taking the mick? I thought, that's the sort of person who you know is going to go somewhere fast, because these young kids have got a lot more than I had at 20. I mean, I had to wait to 35, 40 to do what I'm doing. But now these young kids, they're bright, and the difference is that they can do the developing as well, where we couldn't, if you know what I mean. So the advice is I would always follow your dreams, and if you know what you're doing is right, then just keep on going. It's like some people would say, start-up fail. Do they fail? I don't think they ever fail. You can stop doing them. But if you believe in startups, then just keep going and keep going. Yeah.
Good advice. Good advice. Did I miss something, Colin? Were you gonna jump in there?
Yeah, maybe just one question. We talk about do what you know, and there's so many great stories of people coming from industries, and they just do so amazingly well. Like you guys. Yeah. From a bird's eye view, are there any other industries in London, just for simplicity, that are ripe for disruption, and they just need someone from that industry to sort of spend, a week with some tech guys and solve a problem?
I'm sure there's many. The only thing I do worry at the moment, if we'd have gone back 2 years ago, I had so many ideas floated in your head, but I never got time to do them. I do worry that I think we're coming to near the end of. It's all to do with the iPhone and internet, mobile internet, that all these ideas are virtually coming from. I think we might be coming near the end of how many more ideas can we get out of that. Right. So I'm waiting for that next thing to come along, because the iPhone was amazing to
huge for your business.
For our business. It was the one thing that it made our business, because one day we looked at an iPhone and went, oh crap, you can actually book a taxi and the driver can be mobile and do it, and that's why we started in the first place.
Yeah. I wonder if your business will be completely on a completely different device and platform in 5 years. That'll have nothing to do with
Google Glass.
Yeah, could be something like that.
Yeah, have you tried Google Glass?
I haven't played it yet. No.
Yeah, you can't.
We don't get to hobnob with all the people that you do.
Yeah, I know. We're just the low level.
These guys are hanging with prime ministers. You probably met the founders of Google a few times.
I think
he has to check.
Yeah, I have to check. I probably have. I'm really bad with.
Do you go to Burning Man if you don't know?
No, I'm terrible.
Gary, we wish you tons of success. Nothing would make me happier than seeing Hailo just kill it. And be that flagship company that shows the world that Britain knows tech and knows it better than everyone else. So I wish you guys all the best.
Yeah.
And I love your app. Download it. It's the website is it halocab.com?
It's halocab.com, but you're better off just going type in Hailo on your iPhone or your Android. It'll come up.
Download the app right on your phone
straight away. Yeah.
Yeah, it's great tech, and I want to keep using it, and it's a fantastic thing to use. Are you guys on Twitter or any other kind of communication? Or is the best thing just to get that app?
I'm not a great lover of Twitter. We always see negative from Twitter anyway. But no, we are on Twitter. It's Hailo London, or if you're a driver, it's Hailo Drivers, and so you can get in touch by Twitter or Facebook. Or to be honest, most of our drivers have got our phone numbers anyway, so they give us a ring.
Fantastic.
But we're available for everyone.
Great. Any Silicon Reel business, or is it the usual? We've got our new website up.
New website's up.
Yeah, looking great. Everyone loves it.
It looks good. Give us feedback. And we're going to be looking for some guest bloggers coming up. Yeah. So reach out to us. Again, we're always looking for more help. If you're looking to get into the tech scene in the new year and sort of want to make a bounce, give us a shout. We're looking for some good people to help out. So
for biz dev. And if you have ideas about guests, just send them through.
Yep.
This is episode 24, our 6-month anniversary. It's all good. If you're listening to us on iTunes, you can see our faces in full color on YouTube. So come check us out on.
Have to get a podcast into the Cabby app for the cab driver app.
Yeah. So we was talking about if Russell was here, we was
because you guys do a podcast too, right?
Yeah, we do, and we talking about Hailo Radio as well, which would be great. But
cool.
we do a football podcast.
Yeah, cool.
Fantastic. All right, very good. As we say, it's about the people. Thanks for being here, Gary. It's an awesome story, and wishing you all the best.
Amazing.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
All right, guys, take care.
talk about HSBC. It's an $8 billion money laundering operation for Mexican drug lords that they've been directly responsible for 60,000 decapitations in the last few years. So who's a terrorist, buddy? Who's a terrorist?
Hey, I'm not on the
Who's
CIA.
a terrorist? Who's the terrorist here?
Be careful,
But
Max.
look,
They'll jump all
let,
over
let
you.
me, so 39 cents to send $150 million. Now the cheapest any bank can offer that service of all the money center banks is $200,000. So, I mean, how are you going to compete with that? You can't.